Turning overseas, yesterday marked the bloodiest day so far in the uprising in Syria against President Bashar al-Assad's regime. Activists say more than 100 people were killed when government troops opened fire on pro-democracy protesters across the country. It all began when tens of thousands of people took to the streets to stage what was supposed to be peaceful protests.
The day got off to a peaceful start as protesters marched in the streets of Damascus and Motamay, chanting with hoisted placards. In the face of a brutal crackdown by a government still unable to make good on its promise of reform, protesters continued chanting their intent of overthrowing the Assad regime. While marching down the street, a terrifying scene played out. The sound of gunshots rang out, and demonstrators ran in horror, trying to duck and cover to save their lives. Dozens were shot and killed by Syrian security forces, their bodies hurriedly dragged away by protesters desperately trying to get out of the line of fire. Among the dead, 2 boys aged 7 and 10 and a 70-year-old man. In an extraordinary show of defiance, protesters in Dara toppled the statue of Assad's father and predecessor. Video shows angry demonstrators hacking down the statue of Syria's late president, Hafez Assad. While Western journalists are being blocked from entering Syria, one Al Jazeera reporter covering the unrest said the demonstrators did not provoke the bloody attacks.
They tell us it was very peaceful protest and there was no reason for the government to use this much deadly power.
The heavier crackdown came after the current president warned that any further unrest would be considered sabotage, especially after his gesture of lifting long-hated emergency laws. U.S. President Barack Obama issued a strongly worded statement condemning the latest crackdown. He denounced the use of force by Assad's government and called for an immediate end to the violence. About 300 people have now been killed over the 5 weeks of protests in Syria.